What I loved about the last episode, Alec, and this is why I brought you back, not just
Thank
because
you.
we vibe and we
do.
get it, we get it.
Yes,
We fucking get it.
absolutely.
But you and I fanboyed out so hardcore.
I know
that we barely talked about tracks or anything like that. But look, like in our defense, Alec, that record is so perfect. You don't have to individually go through it and talk about it. Amnesiac, on the other hand, is a departure from everything we know as Radiohead up until this point.
Yeah, except Knives Out. But yes.
Yes. Fucking slaps though, dude.
Yeah, no, Knives Out sounds like it could be on OK Computer or the Bends, I think. But I was going to say, when you gave that great preamble, and thank you for having me back, by the way.
Of course,
I got more responses from this show than any other. Yes. People were very excited. They commented that they enjoyed the last one. But today will be different. It's a different. Now you're counting down the albums to number one. Is that correct?
Yeah, unfortunately, dude. And I'm ready to quit. No, Adam's heard me.
Don't quit. I understand exactly what you're saying, but you shouldn't. So what number was? Can anyone refresh my memory? What number was In Rainbows?
Adam?
In Rainbows was 336.
And what number is this?
This is now, we are at 320. So 16 weeks ago we talked.
Okay. All right.
16 albums down.
Listen, it was a little closer than I thought, but it's insane to me that Amnesiac is ahead of In Rainbows. I'll just say that. Mm-hmm. And this is obviously not to disparage in any way Radiohead. I think you can make a compelling argument to have all of their albums in a top 100 albums of all time list. Like I love them. Mm-hmm. But there's something about him, like In Rainbows, for example. I live on Cape Cod. Maybe you've been there. So something we like to do in the summer is we have a decent sized dining room table where you can seat like 10 or 12 people, and you're getting stoned and you're getting drunk and you're stuffing your fucking face and you're looking out at the water at a fucking gorgeous sunset. So the music choices are important. Like it's important to choose good music for that moment, you know? Every time we have a dinner there. I would never put on Amnesiac. I just wouldn't. I would put on In Rainbows, anytime at a nice dinner party or whatever. But this album, like, I got anxious as the podcast was getting closer because this album makes me anxious. There's something about it, and it's weird because, and you like to get into all this shit, but it was released in like May of 2001 or something. Mm-hmm. And it almost feels like it's anticipating 9/11. That's how tense this album is. It's like, it's something that it feels like it's challenging you and getting inside your skin with like almost every track. And they continue to do that thing of "You and Whose Army," like these confrontational phrases that they want to, like, Radiohead is not here to take any guff, but they might also be the guy on heroin in the corner who's like slumped against the wall, who's like yelling out insults at people. But it's such a weird mixture. And this album combines so much of that. Like it's almost like indescribable danger that they're telling you about. There are a lot of lyrics about like the planet's done and I want out. And it's just like, oh God.
Yeah. This is, if you think about what the first lyric that we hear from this, after years of waiting, nothing came.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good with that first line.
And because I guess to talk about this record, we have to go back a little bit, and we have to mention to all the listeners, like, if you don't know Radiohead, that you have to start at the beginning with them. They're like Miles Davis. You got to just see where they started and know where they're going, because this is like, they've already made a turn at OK Computer. And then I guess OK Computer was 97. In 2000, in October of 2000, Kid A came out, which is like, a lot of people, I think we battled between OK Computer and Kid A being they're like
masterpiece.
Yeah, they're masterpiece. And so we waited, 3 years, but I mean, they arguably were out of any music critic's mouth, they would say, well, I think the thing we're the most excited about is what Radiohead's going to do after OK Computer.
Totally right. Absolutely right. They had OK Computer had, and I will say again, you said for your listeners to go back and listen from the start. I would say you could start at the Bends. I would just say that.
You got now because Creep is so good.
But everybody knows Creep.
But I know, but it's you just gotta you have to hear because they're so Brit pop at the beginning. They are so blurred. They're the Verve, they're Oasis, they're every other band that was coming out in England. And you have to see that it's like, oh, they started because right at the Bends is the turn starts, and you're like, oh, what are they? Well, their Johnny's getting a little bit more confident, making noises. The song lyrics aren't about love; they're about like real shit, like panic attacks. And then, of course, OK Computer comes out, changes the face of British music, if not music of the world.
I agree.
And then we have 3 years, and then I still remember I bought Kid A at the Sam Goody in Gaithersburg, Maryland, on the same day that Gomez Abandoned Shopping Cart Trolley came out, which is a collection of B-sides. Dude, you have to realize, Alec, I am a full-blown British American. Like, I've accepted that I am 33% British. I'm wearing turtlenecks. I have my hair in a quasi Richard Ashcroft mop.
Yes.
Like, I'm saying righto. Like, I remember.
Oh, that's intolerable. That's insufferable. How could do you still have any friends from that era?
I don't talk to a lot of those people.
Yeah, anymore. I would imagine.
A couple of them in fantasy football leagues.
Righto. Oh my God. Top of the morning.
Well, first of all, righto is better than no worries. I hate no worries. If you say no worries to me, I'm going to kick you in the throat. I hate it.
I love British expressions too. Like I like you. I'm a huge Anglophile, and I blame that on the Beatles. Because I would spend my whole childhood like imagining what Beatle am I, of course knowing all the time it was Ringo, and barely if that. It's like, I love when a lot of people bash on Ringo. They're like, and then there's fucking Ringo. It's like, he was a really good drummer in the best band of all time. What did you do?
And dude, he's 78 years old and he has jet black hair and no one's gonna question him. They just go, nope. You're good, dude.
You're fine.
You're good.
Flash that peace sign. We still love you.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Dude. No more letters. No more letters, please. Peace and
Yours is good. Mine's terrible. Mine's always Paul.
Well, I got the nose for it, so nice. I gotta jump on you. But Radiohead, to me, to get back to them, they're the only band on the highway chasing the Beatles still. Like, there's no, I don't think they're gonna get there. Maybe, but they're the only one left that has any chance to climb that peak, and they're number 2 on my list. Like, Radiohead's second greatest band of all time, I think. But so the buildup, the waiting, as you said, after years of waiting, and I didn't even think of that. And they also smack you with that incredible beat at the beginning of that song, packed in like sardines, where it's like, I don't know, weird high steel drums on computer repeat. So that's where the tension starts. And then they get right into it. So I'm a little bit afraid of this whole album. Like, when I see the black and red of Amnesiac, like
it's harsh colors.
It makes me feel tense, like in a way that In Rainbows, with its Skittles like cover, did not.
I wonder, Adam, if you could check. I know you saw there was a fact in there. Did they do that on purpose? Because I'm pretty sure black and red, especially red, is an aggressive color, and maybe they did do something with the album cover to, I don't know, amplify the anxiety that you're feeling, because obviously they were feeling it. I mean, when you go from being, all right, we're a respected band making music, then you have the album that changes everything, and everybody's kissing your ass and you're winning every award, and then it's like you tour and you're going all over the world and people are pulling at you. Then you write Kid A, which is an extension of OK Computer. A couple of those songs could have been on OK Computer.
Yes.
Where like, maybe they pushed a little bit more onto the electronic side. They're using mixers with everything in its right place. Kid A is just noise. How to Disappear Completely is could be on any of the records. It's
I agree.
Perfect song. And then so on and so forth down the line. And then this comes out in May, which I don't even remember if it was advertised that it was coming. Do you remember? Because
you're right. Come to think of it, I do remember there was definitely one album that just sort of appeared, and it was just like, hey, guess what? Radiohead's got another album. We're like, didn't they just have it? It makes sense that it would be this one.
I know. I think King of Limbs was a surprise ish. Hail to the Thief, I got like 4 months before because it was bootlegged on some like
Right.
site, and I just listened to it nonstop. And then I remember a moon-shaped pool, whatever the last one was.
Yeah.
That one was supposed to come out like a week later than it came out, and then they just dropped it on a Friday, and we're like, "Here it is, have at it."
Oh, God.
But I don't remember this. All I remember is the radio station, the DC rock station, I think DC 101, played this record all the way through, and I taped it on a cassette. I think I
Oh,
missed the opening chunk of the first song, but I got what was like, I think the quote unquote single from this record, which would have been, well, Knives Out was the one that I know was played on the radio, but
and Pyramid Song, right?
Pyramid Songs was
Yeah.
the one that had a music video.
Yes.
And I mean, if
A very cool music video.
very cool. It was,
Yeah.
you know what it reminded me of? Like Dire Straits, like you got the money.
Yeah.
How's that song go?
Money for nothing.
You got
Money
the code
for nothing.
of the scoodle doodle.
Yeah.
It's got a very like Minecraft thing. They predicted Minecraft. Dude, they're the Simpsons
clearly.
of bands. I think, but this comes out, and I tried to rock this in the same way I would rock Kid A, OK Computer. And I remember
Didn't
playing
work.
it. I remember playing. I'm still living at I think I was living at my parents' house. I was, because I didn't go away to college until right before 9/11. And I remember my dad walking in while I was listening to Pyramid Songs and be like, "What is this death march? Like, this is
Yeah.
great. This is a great song." But if that's the song that is in a sense the bigger, because look, I'm not saying that Pyramid Songs is the best song on the record, but I will say out of all of them, I think it's probably one of the more iconic songs from Radiohead off this record. It's different than like they always have that slow track in the first four that's pretty heavy, whether it's How to Disappear Completely, Exit Music, Nude,
That's great.
and now you have Pyramid Song,
Right.
which and according to this, it was the first of two. It was the first of two singles released.
You know what's crazy to think of is like, I mean, obviously I think they noted the producer, and like it was some whatever. I can't remember.
It's Nigel Godrich has been their producer since the Bends.
Right. So imagine submitting this to someone who had to decide what the singles were, like somebody at the label. You know, if you get this album, I mean, Radiohead's great, but you're really gonna pick Pyramid Song? Like, what do we want those DJs spinning at drive time? It's
all right. It's between Pyramid Song, or their New Orleans Jazz Death March,
oh, God,
Life in a Glass House.
Yes,
which we'll get to. We will 100% get to. So all right, so do this.
We'll 80% get to that.
Why don't just so we can figure out, because I'll tell you right now, I'm in junior college. I'm living with my parents. I'm getting ready to
sounds pretty sweet
go
so
to
far.
Towson University. Yeah, I'm
Nice.
21 when
Sweet.
this came out. I'm DJing weddings for Ultrasound DJs, which I'm still on their website.
Oh my God.
15
really?
years later, I'm still, if you look it up, hey, go to ultrasoundentertain.com. Adam, and when you get to it, see if I'm up there, and then see if the whole piece is there, dude. Because there should be a blurb. There should be a blurb, and you should see the picture. If he pulls this shit up.
So the website is so old because Adobe Flash Player is no longer supported. That is just plastered all over the page.
Oh God.
But this album, like I said, I got it on cassette, and I listened to it, and I never once. I just think it's because when you're 20 years old, you don't think about anxiety and depression and trauma and all the shit that this record was bringing up.
Yeah.
So I treated it like another Radiohead record. What about you? Where are you? What's going on in your life?
Okay.
And how old and everything.
All right. So we're in different spaces. So I'm now 3 years into a job writing for a Late Night with Craig Kilborn.
Nice.
At this point. And I'm, living that Hollywood life.
Yeah.
And I'm 28 and I'm rocking my Banana Republic tan suit around town, just letting them know. and driving my Chrysler 3000. Remember those things?
Oh yeah, dude. It's a great car. It's a solid car.
I was eating up highway in that thing. But so I'm kind of like loving it, and I'm still listening to OK Computer a lot. And then I Kid A was great, and I remember listening to that at a friend's house who had amazing sound, and our minds were blown. And then when Amnesiac came out by surprise, I started listening to it, and it was like almost like I wasn't ready for it. Like it did not jive with where I was at either. Like it just was, it felt tough. I will say, I used to smoke a lot of pot. Now I'm down to about 4 or 5 times a day.
Nice.
I used to smoke a lot of pot. And so Morning Bell and getting stoned in the morning was a great few months. I remember doing that.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
It's a goodie. That's one of the easier fucking songs
Easy
on this
listening.
record.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at the background on this, just so we have an idea. So does everybody knows? If you don't know Radiohead, I hate you if you don't know them. You should know that this is their 5th studio record. And it's released, like we said, in May 2001. It follows Kid A and OK Computer, and it precedes Hail to the Thief. All 4 of them topped the charts in the UK and was as part of a 6-album run of top 3 albums in the United States. Amnesiac only peaked at number 2. It sold over 1 million copies in the United States. It's platinum certified in the US, UK, Canada, and gold certified in Japan. Now here's what I wanted to get to. Adam, thank you for those facts, but this is what I wanted. We talked about order, buddy. We talked about order.
Yeah.
Alec gets it.
Yeah. You're talking to Adam about.
I'm talking to Adam. I'm talking to Adam. I'm looking at one of my screens. You know
order,
who I'm looking at.
Order within the chaos.
Order within the chaos. The album is recorded in 1999 and 2000 in Paris, Copenhagen, and Radiohead's home studio during the same sessions as Kid A. Okay, this is what I wanted. And they split it into 2 albums because they felt it was too dense for a one-release double album.
Yes.
Phil Selway said the sessions had 2 frames of mind. And wow. I'm glad you opened up with your statement, because judging by what he's about to say, I think it just is going to link up perfectly. A tension between our old approach of all being in a room playing together and the other extreme of manufacturing music in the studio. I think Amnesiac comes out stronger in the band arrangement way. That's true. It does sound like this record, they're all in the same room playing it and jamming stuff out.
Yeah.
Whereas Kid A seems like somebody brought something in. He's doodling with the voice repeating and everything in its right place. I mean, and then he's like, all right, well now let's do this, and they're working on it like at a computer. Tom York said Radiohead split it into 2 albums because they cancel each other out as overall finished things. They come from 2 different places. I think in some weird way, I think Amnesiac gives another take on Kid A form of explanation.
Oh, wow. I can see that maybe a different way. And I of course, when it's suspicious when an album comes out that quickly, and then you can't help but think, well, these are all tracks they didn't want to put on their first album. It's like there was Kid A was right before this. So they could have put any of these tracks on Kid A, and maybe I think a couple of them actually would have worked really well. But for the most part, you have to feel like these are not the rejects, because even Radiohead rejects are great. Like we hear Beatles songs that, George Harrison's All Things Must Pass, like the Beatles wouldn't let him record any of those songs, and they're fucking amazing. So it's like that with Radiohead. We're lucky to get any content from them. And but you did have or at least I had sort of an inner feeling of like, well, they could have put these on the album that everyone was dying to see 5 months ago, as opposed to this album they're sneaking out with the milk train in the middle of the night.
What do you think if this is a double record? These are both together, kind of like the way they smushed them together in that re-release that just came out. Amnesia, Kid A, Amnesia, whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's hard to say, but
Kid A Amnesia.
If we, I'm not going to try. If we smush them together, and this came out in, let's split the difference. If one came out in October 2000, this came out in May of 2001. It came out right in February. So in February 2001, these two albums come out. Are we talking about this record as being this great thing with all of this?
Yes, totally. Absolutely. And much in the way that we talk about the White Album. You know, the White Album in some ways is kind of like a sprawling, overstuffed mess. But then the fact that it is like tent-poled by like 6 of the greatest songs of all time, like everything that kind of hangs around it, you accept much more. And I think that would have happened with these two albums together, because you take the great sort of iconic 4 or 5 songs from Kid A, and you take the 3 best songs from this, and suddenly you're in business.
I don't know if they smush these two together. I think if they do, it's definitely on 2 different discs. It's not like you put it on one, and it's like a speaker box Love Below.
I think
Outcasty thing.
Right. I think that you could mix and match these songs from these 2 albums in an interesting way, that it wouldn't feel like you were being jerked too much in different directions, where it would be an undulation, more like riding the waves. By the way, has anyone ever called you Wolfman Josh? You kind of sound like Wolfman Jack, so I want to start calling you Wolfman Josh.
But Burr, when he was writing F is for Family, was like you're the radio DJ that's coming up next season, and then it was basically just my character's name was Howlin' Hank, so it was just like all right.
Oh, this is Wolfman. Baby. You are the Wolfman. You know what I'm talking about.
Wolfman Jack, we're counting down the 500 greatest Radiohead Britpop songs of all time. Coming in at number 499 is Everything in Its Right Place.
Oh, baby. that would be much higher.
Everything in its right place. Oh, you meant on the list. I thought you meant like in the way I say it.
No, that was like an old style comedy routine. A little higher.
Everything in its right place.
It's very good.
My voice is my bread and butter, and I'll tell you my favorite story about my voice. I don't know if I told it on this podcast before, but I was just at the Comedy Store's 50th birthday, and you running into everybody that you haven't seen in forever, and one of them was the old GM there, this guy Dean, and I'd probably done 2 open mics, and on the second open mic, I get off stage after having a whatever set, and Dean pulls me aside and he goes, "Hey man, I really like your voice." And I go, "Oh man, thank you. I'm just speaking from the heart, and this is just my perspective and the way I see things." And he goes, "No. The sound of your voice." Like I was like, "Oh, okay."
Not so much the words coming out.
I was like, "Thank you, baby. I dig you too." Okay.
God, that's great. What an instrument.
Speaking of voices, what do you think about Tom's voice on this record? What do you think of what Tom's doing?
Amazing.
What parts stick out for you in this album of like the certain characters? Because I think there's like, you have to look at the 2 main people, and not to take anything away from Colin or from the lurch looking bass player or Ed, the gorgeous one. But you're talking about Johnny. I always feel like Johnny and Tom are the two characters in these movies that are the record that are nominated. They're always the ones that we're talking about. They're the Nicole Kidmans. I don't know why I chose her.
Yeah, that was a good choice, though. I get it.
Yeah. So what parts stick out? Like what are the things that really like move you?
Tom's voice can do no wrong. Like if I don't respond as much to a Radiohead album, it has nothing to do with Tom's voice, which I find is just absolutely superb in every variant. Like when Tom goes low, I don't, it's great. When he goes into his falsetto, it's beyond beautiful.
Mhm.
And then when he's in his angsty middle, it's all great. Like he can go all over the ice for me. But I think the honestly the haunting sort of nursery rhyme element of Pyramid Song
Mhm. Yeah.
is fantastic. I love You and Whose Army just because of its message. And also I read that they put like egg crates around the microphone to get, I'm getting a thumbs up from Adam, thank you.
Nice.
But
The
I guess
researcher.
to make his voice sound really kind of like soft, and which I thought was cool. Knives Out is a great song. Morning Bell, his voice in Morning Bell is just, it's so vintage Tom, because it's like he's a child crying. I just, those are the things that kind of stand out to me from the album. Those few tracks really with Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to go off of what you're saying with Tom, I don't really, saying what you enjoyed about Tom's voice is just like we enjoy all of it. We enjoy the passion. We enjoy the lyrics that he's written that are like he's telling a story, and he's also being very like, using metaphors, and it's just he's so talented in what he does. And I feel by this record they're really on a roll. Now it's like they can do no wrong. They know what their sound is. They know. We have a guest.
Oh no, sorry. Oh yeah, okay, sure. Sorry.
They're like,
one of our dogs gets walked and the dog goes hyper. So
where's Leck at? That's not mine. There's mine, dude. You guys see her?
Let's see.
Just high on fentanyl.
See,
passed out.
That's
high on fentanyl. Yeah,
that's
dude.
awesome. I
We've
hear
been
it's
doing it together.
Nice. I hear it's a wonderful high.
It's great, man. It's a great way. Great. Like, speaking of high, what's the high we need for this record?
Oh,
what are you doing? Pot, or can you do mushrooms with this, or psychedelics?
Pot is just a given. That's going to be your baseline. That's going to be your base of operations. So you'll go forth from there. I honestly think this, to me, strikes me as a little pot, 2 bourbon drinks, to maybe two ryes with a big rock in them, like sitting there. I can see this as being a very sort of like leather armchair, nice library with a crackling fire kind of thing. The couple of drinks and a little stone buzz underneath, because you don't need mushrooms around this album. I don't.
You'll freak out.
Right? Because to me, mushrooms, I think we talked about this last time. Coin flippiest of any drug. It's going to be Anton Chigurh flipping the coin in No Country for Old Men, and you're either going to have a great night and live, or you're just going to die. So there's no middle ground with mushrooms. And I think if you mixed Amnesiac with the bad side of that you're in for a terrible night.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. It's funny though. I did take every month I go to see Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden, and I take mushrooms.
That's fun though. That's fun.
Very fun, but exactly what you said happened the last time I went. I just took a little too much, and roundabout, it's the big in the world of the angry young man, and I just started getting like, I was like videotaping content, like this is great, and I'll cut it together, and then I'm like, I need to put my phone away. I need to be present, enjoy Billy, and fucking breathe.
Well, see, you've got more practice at it, clearly. And by the way, I believe last time we were on here, you had a fantastic story about listening to some Radiohead song as the sun came up when you were with some chick in a car. Like, I thought about that.
Lisa Lichtenstein.
And what was the song? I know what it is. Don't tell me. It's Let Down.
Yeah,
that's right.
There's moments in your life where. Man, if I just, it's like, who knows? We had such a beautiful moment, and then she came back and stayed at my parents' basement where we were, which was like my sex lair, and we just stayed there.
See the problem.
Smoking weed for like it was like her birthday, and she wanted to go out to party, and I just was such a dip, and then that was it. She was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go back to Waldorf. I was like, oh, okay, and then that was it.
I've had that exact experience before, but
really?
that's so funny. I met with a girl that I had been seeing occasionally, who I liked, and she lived in Seattle and I was living in Los Angeles. And so we met in Las Vegas, but the problem was she had to travel by land because she had 2 Dobermans that like she never left, like she just had to take them. So we had to find this shitty hotel that would take dogs. And they came, and she, exactly like you're describing, wanted to go out, wanted to do this, go to that club, and I was like just getting stoned in the room and like watching,
Yeah.
like A&E or something.
Yeah,
And
Hoarders is on.
I know. So I woke up the next morning and she had gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
you chunked it. We chunked it.
Yeah, we
collective
junked it.
we.
Yeah.
Adam, have you chunked it before with a girl?
For sure. I'm just trying to think of a specific time, but I don't have
You're
it.
trying to-
On my head. But absolutely, there were definitely times in college where it's like I look back, I'm like, man, she wanted to fuck me, and I had no clue. I just was not in that frame of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. This is not a record to put on when you're getting busy.
No.
The whole time you're like, were they influenced by Charles Mingus? Like, what is going on? It's I can't grope your boob to this.
I know. And the girl would think you were influenced by Charles Manson if you put this on a date. It's so funny though, because this is sort of the equivalent. I have a friend who dates a lot of very attractive women, and then he will get them back to his place. Clearly, you're rounding third at that point and heading for home, and he'll get them there. And the way he'll describe it the next day, I'll be like, and then we started talking, and it turns out she had never seen Time Bandits. and then it's like, so it was like,
Baba ho yeah yeah, Baba ho yeah.
Nice.
My favorite George Harrison
song. Yeah.
Waiting something frozen, Lindsay's a scoodly doodly doo.
It's weird that he's a producer of that movie, but he so then he'll have this hot date there. He'll turn on Time Bandits and they fall asleep half an hour in, and he's like, and the night ended with nothing because she fell asleep. It's like, well, I think I know why.
You put on Time Bandits, dude.
I know
you gotta put on something that's not good, like Holy Man by Eddie Murphy.
No,
you gotta put on a chunk movie that you can hook up to. You don't put on the Pelican Brief when you're trying to fuck.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, dude, exactly. You don't put on Malice. Do you remember Malice with Alec Baldwin? You cannot. Kidman. That is Aaron Sorkin at his best, and that is not a hookup movie. You put on something terrible. If you're out there and you're listening and you got a girl that you like and you want to Netflix and chill, don't put on an interesting documentary. Put on a throwaway movie, and then you'll be fucking in no time.
That's great advice. I'd never thought of that. I would always lean towards watching something great. So that's
to all the listeners, just to know that you've been listening to this episode, hashtag Holy Man. That's Eddie Murphy's worst movie.
Let's get that trending.
Let's bring that shit back. Everybody shits on Norbit. Let's shit on Holy Man.
Holy Man.
Here, I'm going to pull up. So we got a bunch of Patreon questions, and I feel like they're all apt. So let's dive into one of them right now. Sure. And this was we were talking about the lyrics. We still got to go back and talk about what we dug Johnny for. So this is from TJ Gillespie. He's always on the boards. I love this dude. Do you consider Radiohead a political band? And there's more to this. You do not.
No. That's my concise answer to that. No, I don't. I just consider them fucking talented artists who pour shit out that they think sounds cool and maybe means something to them, but I would never accuse them of being political, which is not a bad thing. I mean, U2 was great at it. Like, it's not like you can't be. But I don't think they are. And maybe they're saying stuff about society, but I don't think they're I don't see them leading, sit-ins and all that shit. Like, I just,
I just go over what you're saying. If what did Radiohead study in college then?
I would say
like not political science then. So
no.
What are they learning at the university?
I don't know. Maybe like poetry, something like
poetry.
That. I don't know. Don't you think?
I would say they're very. He wrote it philosophy for sure, because there's a lot of like the Nietzsche, like none of this matters. It's all, have you seen, and I can't recommend this movie enough. It's one of the best movies I've seen in the last 10 years, especially one of the best movies I've seen in the movie theater. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Oh, that's that new movie with Michelle Yeoh or whatever. Yeah.
Dude, if you don't, I cried throughout the whole movie. It's really? And then I'm laughing, and it's so good. It's it was a life-changing movie in the sense where I walked out so grateful for what I'm doing, and just like who gives a shit? Just fucking do the art that you want to do and have fun, and because none of this really matters. And you're like, it's that good.
This
and
is
it's
the same. This is the same guy who said he was going to quit when we first got on, right?
And there's like.
There are moments of doubt,
bro. This is, can I be honest? And you get it because you've worked on so many projects. It's like you ever worked on a show and you just been like, I think my time is done. I've done it. I've written it. I can't write it anymore. I can't talk about a band. I'm sorry, guys. I do not give a fuck about Lucinda Williams. I don't want to listen to her record.
Oh, is that next?
No, it's coming up, and they wanted me to do it.
So Lucinda Williams is ahead of In Rainbows. Okay.
Yes, dude. This list is bunk, bro. This list is garbage. I hate this list. If this list was like, if cool people would have sat down to do this, it would be hit after hit after hit after hit. Because, dude, here's what's great, Alec. This episode, we're going to get great numbers because it's Radiohead. It's you. I have a following. You have a following. We're talking about our two favorite bands. This is a band of the 21st century that people know.
Yep.
We and then we'll have another one like Beck Odelay. A great record.
Love it.
And it'll get great numbers. And we'll be like, oh shit, our numbers are going up. And then they'll drop fucking.
Yes, because nobody can. Well, have you ever thought about just doing the ones that you think are awesome? Have you thought about like changing it up a little bit, or do you worry about offending certain people who are like, how dare you skip Lucinda, whatever?
Both. It's two things. One, honor the list. I remember when I used to go to open mics in Hollywood and we would sign up and then there'd be people trying to jump the line. You'd be like, honor the list.
Yeah.
Honor that list. That list was written, it's if I'm four, I'm four. If he's five, he's five. He waited, he signed up. Go ahead.
Can I extend that phrase?
Go ahead.
Honor the listeners. Clearly they want to hear the ones that are albums are great.
Yeah.
And then instead of albums that nobody knows or nobody cares about.
You're right.
So it's like when you get to sort of Shania Twain feels like a woman at 112 and you're like, oh no, really?
Dude, that's got some bangers on it, dude. Scoodly doodly 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 scoodly boodly doodly doodly. I used to work at a Hollywood video in Germantown, Maryland, and one of the managers was this like country western dude. He kind of looked like he was on the TV show Falcon Crest, to give you an idea. And when we'd always be able to put stuff on, and every other manager would let me put on like Back to the Future or Pee-wee's Big Adventure, like movies that I loved, Young Frankenstein.
Sure.
But he only watched Shania Twain live in concert. So for the full 8-hour shift, it was, man, I feel like a woman. It was, she rules, dude.
She was pretty strong. She was beautiful. Nice songs.
Nice, but Alec, think about this. And this is the thing, dude. Is the guy that produced and wrote those records for Mutt Lange wrote Back in Black by AC/DC. He produced that.
Amazing.
He did Def Leppard Hysteria, which is basically the heavy metal Michael Jackson's Thriller.
I agree.
Yeah.
I hear this all the time. One of my favorite things to do is, as I'm sure you guys probably have, Sirius XM, which I have and I love. And I'm sorry if I'm like, shouldn't be talking about them on here. I never know. But I listen to, they do. Oh, nice. Adam, former employee. We won't get into what HR found out about you. It's like, I listen to the top 40 countdowns. They have like 80s on 8, top 40 from this week and this week it's 1986. So I listen to it all and they give little tidbits about the songs in between. And you always hear of these producers like Mutt Lange or, whoever it is, and they work with the weirdest people. There's always such a mix and match thing in the music business that the producer of, one of the producers on Abbey Road will years later be like, putting it out an album for NSYNC or something. It's nothing is, everything gets cross-contaminated in that way. So that doesn't surprise me.
He married Shania Twain, I'm pretty sure. So it was kind of like the marriage would have fallen apart if he didn't produce for her.
But isn't Shania Twain married now to some other?
Check this math, Adam. I might be wrong. I might be talking out of my ass.
Who's Tim McGraw?
So Mutt Lange, they divorced in 2010, and now she's with some guy, Frederick Thibault, since 2011. I don't know.
Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow. He got down on one knee again. You know, but who? No, Tim McGraw is married to another female country singer, and they're like a hot couple.
Faith Hill.
There you go. The blonde
one. Dude. Yeah. I know about the country western relationships. I'm on CTMZ, Country Television Music Zebras
Zone.
Following this question though, because Adam, you did the research, so I want you to answer this. Is this a political record?
In a very wide definition of it, sure. I mean, it's not. You know, the next album coming up, The Wailers, you know, Burnin', that is way more political. You know, there are Pearl Jam songs, way more political. So if in a wide definition of it, sure, but I wouldn't categorize it that way.
By the way, Alec, my next guest for Burnin' is my favorite porn star, this chick, Indica Flower.
Really?
And I'm a huge fan of this girl's and her work, and we follow each other. And she's a big, she's a white chick with dreadlocks, and she seems really cool and earthy. And I asked her if she liked the record, because I gotta record all these before I go tape my Netflix thing. So I'm going to, dude, check this shit out, bro. And I wish people would come to this. I am doing a goddamn comedy jam, the music comedy show that I do on Monday with Kid Rock.
Amazing.
And I'm opening the show. I swear to God, I'm opening the show by
you better have the chicken wire in front of you, like the Blues Brothers.
No, dude, no. I'm gonna go tonight and tonight only. I am Republican.
That's awesome.
And then I'm going into America by Neil Diamond.
Oh, that is great. Oh, if you don't you're going to get carried off the stage like Rudy. That's amazing.
And I'm not going to start it, but if somebody starts a build the wall chant, I'm joining in. That's kind of fun, dude.
Yeah, you got to play to your audience. You know, I went to see Chris Rock in Boston right after the slap.
I almost went, but the tickets were too expensive. Yeah, I almost drove up. Tell me about it.
So, listen, Chris Rock is top 5 all time stand-up, in my opinion. And so his stand-up was great. It was disappointing that he didn't talk about the slap, other than to say, I'll talk about it at some point, not now. Which was, I'm sure everyone, and it was interesting because then instantly in the Boston crowd, there was lawlessness. Like once he said he wasn't going to talk about the slap, you could hear several loud conversations breaking out. Like people were
fuck this shit here.
I know. It was totally typical Boston. But the funny thing that reminded me of it, you talked about opening for Kid Rock. Chris Rock had an opening act too. And I can't remember his name, and I'm
Rick
sorry.
Ingram.
You know him?
I know Rick. He's a Comedy Store dude.
So he was funny. He was definitely funny, but within, and maybe he does this with Chris Rock. Maybe a lot of opening acts do this. Just went instantly into crowd work. Didn't do material. Like, is that a thing?
That's Rick's thing.
Crowd? Okay,
that's Rick's thing, and Rick is so good at crowd work, and that's his wheelhouse.
Right.
I don't, I think the main reason he brings Rick, because at the Comedy Store, Rick annihilates. It's hard to follow. It's hard to follow any comic that's doing present in the moment material.
Yes, totally true.
But I think it's because I saw Chris right before the slap that Monday before it. I did my Comedy Store main room show, and Chris Rock dropped in and did an hour. He did his set, and it's
amazing.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
So we heard the same stuff.
Yes, and it was. I mean, dude, it's some of the best shit. It's way better than the shit he was doing off of Tambourine. But that being said, I think you bring a comic that's that good because you know that they're gonna kill so hard that he has to step it up one level above that and bring it even more. Because he's on a level that if he doesn't annihilate, you're like, oh, he's losing his mustard.
Right. But it was interesting. I'd love to hear your take because you're on the front lines of this war.
Yeah.
For me, and I did stand up much, briefly compared to you guys. I did it for like 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
And But I thought, as a comic and as a top 5 all-time comic, and somebody who's clearly devoted to the art of stand-up comedy,
Yeah.
I felt he owed it to that art to come out jokes blazing
Sure.
about this Will Smith thing. And I could only suspect that it was like a cynical reason that he didn't. Like he was going to fully prep something because he knew he could maximize, if he makes a Netflix special about this, everybody's going to go to Netflix. Like I'm sure somebody will pay a shit ton of money to get him to do the 1 hour special where he talks about this for the first time. But I felt as simply like a guy on just the gut comedy level, he owed it to the audience to come out with half a dozen great jokes about it, which he had.
Yeah.
I mean,
he had it in the moment when remember he goes, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. And he goes, oh, he's like, okay. And then he takes a second and he goes, oh, I could just, and then he stops himself and then he goes back into the awards. He probably in that moment had the perfect joke for it, but being that he was still engraved as being one of the hosts of the Oscars and potentially will do it again. I think he didn't say anything just to not upset the situation and keep somewhat the status quo, or at least fabrics of it. Because I almost went to that show and I'm glad I didn't, because the tickets were like $800. And I was like, yeah, it's just, I'll see it on World Star. Somebody will record it. And to have him not say anything, at least just not, I mean, he addressed it, but at least just have a little perspective on it. I don't know. I've never been slapped. Also, I've never been slapped in front of 100 million people.
No, God, no. The Oscars have to ask him to host next year, don't you think?
Oh God, that would rule. But they're so lame.
No, but you'd think, I mean, I would imagine that somebody's already asked him, and like he's, it's up to him to say yes or no. But like, I think you'd be insane not to ask him to host. Like, at least people would tune in for the monologue to hear what he has to say.
I got jumped at an Outback Steakhouse once when I was working.
But not slapped?
It was more like jumped. I say they just intimidated me and punched me in the stomach. It's a long, long story, but all the employees from Outback came outside to protect me, and because they saw it in the cameras, because I was doing to-goes. And then eventually it broke up. And I mean, going back to work that next day, man, that was like one of the most embarrassing days of my Outback career. And I was employee of the month of July 1995 as a busboy. I mean,
it must have been confusing to get in a fight there. Like, hey guys, take it out back. Like, well, what do you mean? Should we just fight here? Or?
They're fighting Outback.
Yeah.
They showed up in an Outback. It's just it just keeps going. It's so meta. It just keeps going. Look, Chris is a genius. I know he's going to say something important when it's time to do it. That situation is still to the weirdest thing I've ever seen on live television in my whole life. And I can't. That slap is the amnesiac of moments. The anxiety, the scream. Hearing him scream is like the horns from fucking the last track, Life in a Glass House. It's just it's falling in on you. It's crumbling, deterioration.
Oh, God, I see. I'm glad I've pulled you over to the dark side on this album. I mean, it's great. It's great, but it's just tough.
It's a tough listen, but it's not a bad listen. It's not a bad listen. It's an interesting one. So, Adam, did we find out, is it political? Because he's got a good follow-up question that I want to ask. Is the album political, Adam?
No, I say no.
I thought you did the research. I thought it said there was.
Josh, you're gunning for Adam today, and I'm not going to stand for it.
He's just here's the thing is that I keep acting like the stuff he puts in front of me I wrote, and Adam writes it. So from here on out, Adam, I'm just going to ask you the questions. So research it, make this job easier for me, and then I'll finish this. If you keep doing that, if you're ready to go with facts, I will 100% finish this for another 6 years.
I'm not going to testify at this trial, by the way. I'm not going to testify. I refuse. Don't make me choose a parent.
You have to, dude. Dude, I'm your in, bro. Your in.
I guess you're right.
I'm your in. If you don't roll with me, dude, come on, man. Our colors don't bleed.
I think we might have had a similar discussion last.
About what?
When we were talking in Rainbows. I feel like we had a similar spat mommy and daddy were fighting moment.
Over Adam?
Yeah, with you
That
guys.
sounds about right. We probably have one every other podcast. So
And there you go.
He's
Well,
the
I'm
only
lucky-
reason I'm still doing it.
Yeah,
Who
way
are
to go,
you and
Adam.
Emily?
Oh,
Emily,
that's sweet.
he is. It's dude. It's there's. I like seeing him once a week. There's listen. If I stop this, it's not because I didn't. I don't enjoy doing it. Like I enjoy the records. I enjoy being able to dig back into this record because it's not one of the
Yes.
Radiohead records I put on.
Nope.
You know, it's here. I got a good idea. This is a good one. This is another Patreon question.
All right, let's hear it.
This is from Kristen Zerbis. I hope I said that
Ooh,
right.
Thank you for your Zerbis.
Thank you for your Zerbis. Also, I'm gonna get this is what you do to a kid. Like you give him a Zerbis on the belly.
Right. There you go.
Where does this fall on your ranking of favorite Radiohead records? And then also, how many times do you think you've listened to this album in particular? That's a good question, Kristen Zerbert.
Yeah. Yeah. I to me, this is lower, you know, it's lower. I think we've been through this a couple times. We have a little difference at the top. I put OK Computer there. I put OK Computer in Rainbows, the Bends, Kid A, then this one, Amnesiac, I think.
Okay.
What am I forgetting? I feel like I'm forgetting.
A moon.
No, I put a moon down around this, King of the Limbs down around this. Once it gets down to my bottom of it, they're all kind of in the same area. Like they're all incredibly listenable. And I think Dex Dark off of Moonshaped Pool is one of actually their greatest songs. Maybe
I think
one of their yeah. So there are great things within all these albums that I'm now like seemingly disparaging, but I'm not doing that at all. It's like choosing your favorite Beatles albums, you know, the ones at the bottom. If I have Magical Mystery Tour down towards the bottom, it doesn't mean it doesn't have I Am the Walrus, you know, it's like there are great things on there. So
yes,
same for Radiohead, but definitely down towards the bottom.
I think my least favorite is King of Limbs just because, and when you said it perfectly, dude, King of Limbs is a hard listen, but and I mean, I'll say this, it's much harder listen than this record. This one still feels like it's in the realm of Radiohead, whereas King of Limbs is just like freestyle jazz. Like there's just moments of like, oh, it comes together, but it's still like it's sloppy. And then you get to Lotus Flower and you're like, oh, this is a perfect record.
Yes.
You know, totally. Because of that one moment.
Yep, I agree. And it's funny, King of the Limbs came out and I was listening to it at a time when we were back in Boston making TED. And so I was walking around Boston listening to that and feeling like king of the city. You know, it was like a great, because I'm from there-ish, from the suburbs, but like to come home to be working on this thing with Mark Wahlberg and Seth, and then to have it turn out so great, I always have a good association with King of the Limbs, whereas Amnesiac is, you know, it's a little different.
Way different. I mean, what's going on in my, what was I really like doing in my life? I'm DJing. I'm 21. No, I'm not 21. Wait, is this 2000? No, I just turned 21. Man, it was like, I don't remember. Like, I think I was in a quasi hippie phase. Like I was wearing one of those like hemp necklaces with like a bead, maybe a crystal in the center.
God, and saying righto all the time. This is all falling apart here.
Yeah, I went to. Nah, did I go to Israel yet? I did go to Israel. So my hair is long.
Gotta go to Israel.
I just remember I was so excited, yet it just didn't. This is a record that has really grown on me over the last few years because it's more than just Pyramid Song and Knives Out, which it was for, and it might be wrong. Those were all, staples that I listened to. I do think there are some songs on this record that could be cut off. Polk.
Yeah, get it out.
It doesn't need to be on there. I'm trying to look. You and Whose Army I like. Knives Out, of course, like spinning plates creates a fucking mood.
Totally.
Sounds like a weird craft work.
You can get rid of the one that he sings backwards. Which one is that? There's one where it's like, it's clearly like the Twin Peaks kind of like backwards recording for at least some of it. I feel like it's on the second side of the album.
Plates.
Let's like splitting plates. That's the one that's like,
oh really?
Because
Okay.
Dollars and Cents is so great, and it's those like the drums in it, the bass, his moans.
Yeah.
This is a big Tom York moan record. Like it's a
Oh,
lot of like
to the moan.
he's doing that in Pyramid Song. He's doing that in It
You know,
Might Be Wrong.
you just sounded like that song. She's so high.
Right above me. She's so lovely. She's so high.
Who is that?
Oh, it's not Delamitri. I know that because
Yeah.
it seems like it should be from. Oh, it's Sean Colvin.
No.
You know what song? You know what song is like? They always play it in every like movie trailer. It's like the one that's like, it's like Frank is having a bad day. Look inside your heart, pretty baby. Is it anything you thought it would be?
We got that. Yeah, it's funny. We did a Family Guy joke about that song. With the movie was called Ants at a Picnic, and like it was playing that song while they're like trying to get rid of the ants.
Tall Bachman, for real? Oh wait, did you find my DJ photo?
Oh, because the website is so old, it doesn't. So you're not on there anymore. That page did work.
Oh, you've been erased.
You're not on there.
Are you serious?
Oh, we're gonna have to cut all this, aren't we?
Are you serious, dude?
I'll show you.
You were laughing
again.
Ultrasound Entertain. Hold on, man.
Josh is like, I Googled myself last week and I was there.
He checks every Monday.
That's how I sound to you. Hey, listen, guys. I Googled myself. I don't know what you're talking about. Like Splitting Plates is a perfect song.
Wait, can you say as part of your radio DJ, hey, you're here with Josh Adam Meyers, the Jam? Can you call yourself the Jam?
Come on, dude. Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, Josh Adam Meyers, you're listening to 103 The Jam, guys. We're giving away Hoobastank tickets if you're the fifth caller. For some reason, nobody's calling in. Maybe it's because they're Hoobastank tickets and they haven't been relevant in a long time, baby.
Oh, good. Funny word, though, Hoobastank. Very funny word.
It's a very funny word. What do you got?
What?
Oh, wait. Scroll down, dude. All right, so the black guy Randy was like the big wig. Yeah. He was great. He was like one of the best bar mitzvah DJs. That kid Art, he was kind of a hand job, and I trained him. I don't know the other Terrence. I don't know Tony. I never saw him, but he always had gigs. I can't believe he's on there.
I can see why Tony had gigs. Look at that sultry photo.
Icing the camera.
Give it to us, Tony. He looks like he's in an 80s Britpop British invasion.
He does whatever you want, whatever you thought. I didn't mean it. I just want you back for good. Want you back. Randy was the man, though, dude. They loved Randy. Also, there's the guys that own this company were so religious. One of them wrote a book disproving evolution.
Oh, wow. I'd be interested to read that. Finally, someone did it. All right, great. Good for him.
If somebody can find it, it's written by Mike Lampiris. And the dude, Steve, who, God bless their souls, man, because they kept me around and I was a mess for a few of those years when I'd be drinking at weddings and causing scenes.
A drunken punch up at a wedding.
Oh, dude. One of my favorite Radiohead songs.
That's a great song.
But I remember like they were so sweet, yet they were so conservative. And Mike was like the hardcore, like real Christian, like didn't cuss, probably had some underlying racism.
Probably.
They lived with their parents, and their parents were like 80s, and these two guys were like 50 and like 45.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, but they had this business, and Steve was like the typical, like he had like a bouffant hairdo, and he worked out and had like a fanny pack before they were cool, and he would talk like this, like, "Hey, Bubba, come on, that's what we're doing." All right.
He sounds like a DJ himself. Did he do it?
Yeah, he did. He was there. He was like their top bar mitzvah and wedding guy. He was a cheeseball McGee, but God bless his soul. This is the greatest thing. That when I got my first job out of college and I was still DJing on weekends, the company, it was called Team. It was a subsidy of Channel One News and Discovery Channel, a whole conglomerate in DC. And the HR person called Steve to get recommendation. And this is what
Mhm.
Steve said. And the woman said, she goes, dude, I talked to that guy, Steve. He was incredible. He loved
Yeah.
you. He
Right.
goes, she goes, well, is there anything, what can you say that's good about Josh? And he goes, I have known Josh to be able to entertain and work with various audiences, all the way from prepubescent teens to octogenarians. And then she goes, what is the what is there anything bad you could say about him? And she goes, yeah, his breath stinks. Like he's like that kind of guy, you know what I mean? And
Right, right.
he's just the best. God bless him. I hope they're doing well.
Well, it doesn't seem like they are, but
No,
that's nice of you to say.
they're killing it. All right. Let me see. We got another Patreon question.
Okay.
All right. I think this one is good. It's from Valerie Lopez. Does this album take you on the most intense emotional journey like it does me, which we've already covered?
Yeah.
Would you say
Is right.
Would you
Intense.
say it's an emotional one though, or I feel like it's just one emotion?
Yeah. Well, I'd say actually to Valerie's point or question, it's one like overarching theme, but within it, I think are a few different shades. There's anxiety and fear and anger. They're like all on the dark side. And then you get something like Morning Bell in the middle that kind of it's almost like a false peak. It's like you're seeing the sun after all these clouds, but you're gonna sink back below the cloud line very soon. So,
Mhm.
I agree with Valerie. It's an intense emotional journey through some of your least favorite emotions, I would
Yeah.
say.
So she writes something. I like this. She said there's songs on it that make her cry, like Pyramid Song. There's songs that make her angry, You and Whose Army, and we talked about Political, which I believe was directed at President Bush. Um,
Oh,
Given, what do you got,
take
Adam? What are you
that.
about to say? What are you about to say?
Hail to the Thief, wasn't that the one that had a more like President
Yes,
Bush?
Hail to the
Oh,
Thief was political.
mhm.
Uh,
For
but
sure.
I also feel, to go off what TJ said, I also feel a band can be political even if their lyrics aren't explicitly ideological. A
Oh,
lot of
absolutely.
a lot of bands do that, and I think Radiohead, like we said, they're talking about society, and society is has to be also
Political.
included. It has to be included, the people that govern society. So
Sure.
it's all part of the mood that's created in this record. And yes, what's going on in the world isn't perfect. I think the prime minister of Israel had just been killed a few years prior. There's Middle East is always the way the Middle East is.
Right.
Is it business as usual? No, because I think in fucking the beginning of November, there was an election that basically got stolen with Tipper Gore and Bush. The
Yeah.
world's what's so crazy is if that would have
Al Gore.
happened, now, there would be war on the street.
Well, it did kind of almost happen in this last.
Really?
I mean, well, they all those things
Oh.
almost happened because like Trump claimed that he won, and of course the Bush Gore election came down to like 200 votes in Florida with like the hanging chads and all that stuff. So that was actually close. And it seems like the Republicans fixed it, but whatever.
Sure.
But people have been fixing elections on both sides for centuries, so that's not like we're not going to accuse them of inventing something new. But then Trump tried to say at this time that he won, and there was almost a war in the streets when they stormed the Capitol. It was like everything was close. You're right. If an election came down to 200 votes today, yes, everyone would be tearing shit apart.
I'm saying if let's say the Trump situation happened, and like, so instead of Trump just having no real proof, there's like, look, they didn't count these old people in Florida.
Right.
Oh, then I think those people are even more magnified, and more intense. So
Yep. But it's interesting because, and it's hard to argue that certainly over the last, since Trump was elected until this very day, we've been going through, kind of a dark period, what with Trump and COVID and all that stuff. But it's just interesting because and everybody who lives through it thinks like, this is really it. The world is falling apart. This is terrible. But just think about what people lived through in the 60s. You know, JFK getting assassinated cannot be overstated. Like, what a bummer that would have been. You know, that
Yeah.
is, you know, just a huge bummer to a lot of people that matter. And then, you know, just years later, you shoot his brother when he's running for president, Martin Luther King, and you have Vietnam, and in the Cuban Missile Crisis, you would think the world was going to end like every day. And today, you know, we have stupid things like podcasts and Twitter and Instagram, and we can look at a dog doing something cute, you know, every day. And it just, we're a little bit numb to it. But also at the same time, I think we have to understand that some decades are good and some decades are bad. Like, that's just always been the way. Like, the 80s were pretty good. You know, the 90s were not bad either, and then we've kind of entered into some bad times.
It doesn't. I think what it's good. It's okay. It's good. It gets, you know, you dip down, and then it comes back up. It's just a constant up and down. And right now we're in the fucking down.
Well,
We are in the downtown Abbey.
We're in the upside down, but it's so, yeah, cyclical. Good word. But it's so funny to think of now, because you think of the whole grunge music phase, which I loved a lot of, but you look back on it now and you're like, what were you so upset about? Like, little did you know, like, nothing had happened yet. Like, why were you so upset in 1993? Like, what was bothering you then? As opposed to, like, 9/11 hadn't happened, Trump hadn't happened, COVID hadn't happened. You know, it's like it seemed like the 90s now to look back on them and to think like, oh, we were all so angry. It's like, why?
Parents are baby boomers, probably.
Yeah.
You know, I think I also feel like, you know, the real people at the forefront, like Pearl Jam and Nirvana, I mean, they were like, you know, we're coming off the 80s, which was so hair metal and that, and so, like, you know, women are sex objects, and you know, we don't give a fuck about any political things. Who gives a shit about the world? It's all about the party.
Yeah.
And I think grunge is angry at that shit, where they're like, nah, man, there's real issues in this world. That's why Eddie Vedder's writing pro-choice on his arm at Unplugged. They, you know, I don't know who said it on our podcast, Adam, but when they said like the death of Kurt Cobain, it's like that, because he died, that was the spokesman for like early 90s wokeism, but like good wokeism, not like over the top what we have now. And from that, he dies, and that spokesperson's gone. And then you get, you know, who takes the lead from that is fucking Fred Durst.
Oh,
yeah, but that's what happened. That's what came from it.
That's a bad turn right there.
He puts on a good show. I saw him not too long ago. That's all. I can't hate on him. All right, I want to finish these Patreon questions and then get you out of here. This is every Radiohead record. You're coming back. I
love talking about them.
You're fun. You're just great, dude.
Oh, thanks. So are you. And I have to agree with Adam that you have to stick to it with this, because like it's a great thing. You're locked into something, you know, and you're committed to something artistic, and I think that's cool. And it's a big commitment. There's no denying. It's a big one.
Biggie thicky. It's a biggie thicky. So to follow this next part of the question up, I got to find out, Adam, where are the records that, how many, like, you know, we do the 20 tiers. So this album didn't make the cut for the 2020 re-rank. It did not. Okay. This is the second time we've talked about Radiohead. You did 336 in Rainbows. We're going to see them 3 more times at 162 with OK Computer, 111 with the Benz, and number 67 with Kid A. And on the 2020 list, Kid A is at number 20. OK Computer's at number 42. The Benz is at 276, and In Rainbows is at 387.
Such a weird rearrange.
Well, I can see why Kid A is up so high in the 20. Dude, Kid A changed, like Coldplay, all these bands that are like now doing electric shit that were like Britpop or like rock and roll, the way the face of music. It's Kid A. OK Computer was a good nestle. Look, I know we said this last time. OK Computer is my favorite record. Their best record is Kid A. Their best.
Yeah, well, I mean, I certainly, a lot of people think so. I love it. For me, it's third, but you know, I mean, maybe it's even fourth, but I still love it.
You love the Benz. That's why you love the Benz.
The Benz is great, but the Benz is third. You know, I put
Yeah.
OK Computer and In Rainbows 1, 2.
Okay. So then that's your question is if you could only have two Radioheads on the top 500 list, you would put OK Computer
In
and
Rainbows.
Rainbows. I would.
That's tough though, actually, because that's a tough question. The way that question is worded is interesting. I would definitely put OK Computer on there.
You have to. That's the
Yeah.
guarantee. That's the guarantee.
It's the lock. But yeah, I would still go with In Rainbows probably, and you'd probably go with Kid A,
Kid A.
and OK Computer.
Kid A, because dude, it's even with this, man, the bleeding between the both, you know, Morning Bell is basically on Kid A. And you know, Dollars and Cents and Hunting Bears. I mean, there's nothing on here. The only song that sucks, which I'll get to in a second, is one of the tracks. And I just, you know, I think there's they released a record with the genius that they created during Kid A. They released another full record of just what we call B-sides, but to them is a fucking full. This feels like a full record. This doesn't feel like a bunch of B-sides.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah.
And so that's why Kid A is their best record, because all the B-sides from OK Computer they're just out there.
Yeah.
They're not, there's not like a record. You got to get a weird bootleg from the beach boardwalk, like t-shirt factory that they only have like, that's how I got all those songs. I bought Ocean City Boardwalk, like Carney, like, yeah, if you get that ring in there, you get this copy of Radiohead doing Lift live in London.
That's unbelievable.
All right, here we got one more Patreon and then we'll do rap. All right, it's Mark. Is it Mark Hodgkinson? How's your foot doing, dude? He came to see me in Toronto and his foot was all fucked up a couple years ago. But he actually, this is why I keep doing it. Mark is a dude that writes his own blog post about every album.
Amazing.
So
that's commitment too.
No, I can't fuck it up for him.
You got some apostles here. I love this.
Mark rules. The idiom Knives Out is so powerful. Has there ever been a time in your life when you felt you needed to go into a social situation with your figurative knives out, prepared for battle at the smallest slight? In retrospect, was it the right strategy, or was there a time when it should have been your strategy? That's a good question.
That's a great question. I love that.
Tell me your Knives Out, bud.
Okay, so I can think of two things to speak on this. One of them were the early days of the Family Guy writers' room, because you had to be ready to kill or be killed in there. And you just always had to be on guard. Like it was fun as hell, but it could get rough. You know, like you had to make sure what you were pitching was tip top, or else you were going to sometimes get slaughtered. And then sometimes you had to be ready to fire back to defend yourself. So that was interesting. Now, this is to go to Amnesiac and sort of the darker side here. I find myself that I'm in that situation often with my wife. Like, I don't need a social gathering. You know, when I go to a social gathering, it's presumably people that I'm choosing to hang out with, so it's usually fine, and people that I've known for years and years. And this is the wrong way to answer the end of the question. It's completely the wrong way to handle a situation with your wife, because I feel like sometimes if I'm irritated with her, she might not even know it. I could be irritated by something that she has no idea that she did or why I feel that way. And then it's stewing inside of me. And then the next time I'm with her or having a conversation with her, at the slightest provocation, that's when the knives are out. And I've found that I can be way too mean of a person in those situations. You know, it's so the knives out, which is he's right. It's a powerful image. It's never the right way to do it. Like, and I'm learning that now, that taking control of your own anger and keeping the knives in is always the better way to interact with anyone.
Anybody. Yeah.
Anyone.
It's the art of war. Don't show don't show anything. You just, even when you're angry, you're just like, okay, that's cool. And
That's
it's
so
like,
funny. You took it to Art of War, and I'm like, let's try and be nice to each other. Right, just like Art of War. Or did you read Machiavelli? Right, exactly.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. All right. Well, to quote Beowulf, let me
Yeah.
tell you something. Dude. No, I feel like I have my knives out anytime I talk. It's a calm knives out, but anytime I talk to an industry person about, what I like, I always feel like people confuse the goddamn comedy jam with me when it's like I'm the show. And it's like I
Yeah.
now believe that so much that even with this Netflix taping, it was like they were giving me like not a runaround of what they wanted me to do, but it was like, do you guys understand? Like, it's just let me do what the fuck I do and it'll be great.
Right.
That's
right.
it. Don't
I
try
get
to
it.
change it.
I want to circle something that you said there because I found it amusing when you
What?
said it's the calm knives out. like that's possible. Is there ever a scenario where the knives come out and everyone's calm? I don't think so.
Just
Butter
showing the
knives?
blade a little bit.
What would you say, Adam?
Butter knives,
Butter knives. The butter knives are out. That's a good way to
I got
think
a
of
butter
it.
knife and I can just a nice melty spread.
There you go.
You got to have the knives out, man. You got to fight for what the fuck you want. And I think like I mean, in the last few years, I don't get angry anymore. I mean, that's just therapy and meditation and all that stuff. But I mean, it's you got to fight. We got to
Yeah.
fight for what we want.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And if you're fucking, fighting over why we have Cinemax on the cable bill with your wife, then you're like, we don't watch it. We don't watch Cinemax. Why are we paying for this?
Yeah. Well, hey, in the 90s, we sure watched Cinemax, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Red Shoe
baby.
Diaries.
Yeah.
Little
baby.
Scoodle-Doo. Yeah, dude. That's Adam's favorite show.
Red Shoe. Love it.
He's a huge Red Shoe. I have I think my buddy Brady was on that. And
wasn't that Duchovny?
Duchovny, yes, dude. Yeah. Former guest of the 500.
Really?
Yeah, dude. You want to talk about a deep thinker? That dude.
I love him.
Every question we asked him, we were doing it on Zoom. I would ask him the question, right at him, and he would take a second and go.
You could see the gears going in his head. Like he was preparing every response on the fly. It was impressive.
And then every response was perfect.
Yeah.
And you talk about a voice that you love. I love his voice. Oh, God. Yeah, he's the best.
He's the best. Big ups, David. I know he's an avid listener. We got one of his Patreon questions. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say, really? Read it.
All right. Knives Out. All right, here we go. Final questions to get you out of here. Dude, and thank you for doing this, man.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome. I love doing it. You guys are great.
You by what you've said, you've tacked on at least 8 more episodes before I quit. You bought me 8. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Any Beatles album, obviously. I mean, I know that I can't hope to tread on that because I'm sure those are highly requested. I'm sure you got like Casper Weinberger and I don't know. I'm trying to name old like political figures that you might have lined up for that.
We have everybody. Margaret Thatcher's cousin. We've got the Prince
Kissinger.
Andrew.
Kissinger was who I was trying to think of when I said Casper Weinberger. I don't know why I couldn't think of him. But no, you guys are awesome, and I love talking about Radiohead, and I love talking about music. So anytime I'll be here.
All right, these are the same questions I ask everybody. Favorite song on the record?
I gotta go with Knives Out. I just think that again, it to me it would fit so seamlessly on many other Radiohead albums, and I find it just like it's the most sort of like I think Morning Bell is its own little la-di-da nursery rhyme, which I enjoy, but Knives Out feels like, okay, I can chill out listening to this song.
It's definitely one of the songs that you could put on a playlist with other stuff.
Totally right.
Yeah, you can. It's like you said, the clam bake that you're eating at, maybe Knives Out. Everything else, you're not putting on pyramid song.
No,
unless they're like walking the lobsters over to the water to boil them. You know what I mean? It's like they're dropping one in.
Yeah.
So for
the
years,
camera follows it down to the bottom of the pot.
For years,
Yeah.
it was. You asked me my favorite song is. I would say Pyramid Song, but I think the best song on this record is Life in a Glass House. I think it's the perfect song to end the record. I love, and I got to give a shout out to the jazz trumpeter Humphrey Lyttelton. Lyttelton agreed to perform in the song with his band after his daughter showed him Radiohead's 97 album OK Computer. According to him, he said didn't want it to sound like slick studio production, but a slightly exploratory thing of people playing as if they didn't have it all planned out in advance. And I feel like
they nailed it.
Nailed that.
Yeah.
It's there's this one run at the end where it's just like it's so hummable. It's almost, to me, it's just such a weird, because it's such a cacophony of noise. It's almost as hummable as Slash's solos from November Rain. To me, it's like you hear it. You hear every little, like, you can sing along to that. I can almost sing along to the trumpets in that song that I pull out because it's that good. You end the record with that. If you don't end it with that, I don't think we're talking about it. If you just misorder these songs differently, I don't know if this record's on this list. That's why it carries the weight. That's why it's a full record. Open with Packed, and then close with this.
Yep.
And then it's just
the end sounds like a New Orleans funeral almost, like the sound of it. So
they're putting these sessions, the Kid A sessions, to bed. They're like, we're done. We're now moving on to Hail to the Thief, which people, we could talk about that for hours because people aren't with it. I am, but
it's a great album.
All right. Least favorite song on the record.
I mean, I think it's Polk / whatever.
Pull Revolving Doors.
Yes. I knew it was a PP thing. But I just wasn't into it. Didn't grab me, and I'm not against doing an instrumental or anything like that. Like I can be for that, but it needs to, as some of my older relatives would say, you need to be tapping your toes a little bit there.
There's no tap.
No.
Here's a cool fact, because it's my least favorite song too. This began as an attempt to record another song. They were trying to record True Love Waits, and it features keyboard loops recorded during the OK Computer sessions. Radiohead disabled the erase heads on the tape recorder so that the tape repeatedly recorded over itself, creating a ghostly tape loop, and manipulated the results in Pro Tools. Deciding that arrangement did not fit True Love Waits, Radiohead used it to create the song.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me like it more, but it's cool.
Yes, that's cool. Interesting factoid. All right, what song would you fuck to on this record? I think probably I like Pyramid Song, because then I think you can have an eye contact connection there. I think, and that's about my physical rate of speed is something like that.
That made me laugh.
Yeah, we'll take it slow, and it'll be over by song's end.
It's a death march.
That's the Sulk guarantee. It'll be over before you know it.
I'm fucking to. I mean, there's so many jokes in all of this.
Yeah.
Not only packed like sardines in a crushed tin box. I mean, that doesn't sound like
that sounds like a British euphemism for gay sex.
Yeah.
It was packed in like sardines back there.
In a crushed tin box. Oh, he's a fancy lad. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. But also, after years of waiting, nothing came. God, do you know what's crazy? There's a chick. I got to end on this. And this is it. There's a chick that I dated on and off for 8 years, and we never dated. She would just come home for the holidays, and we'd make out. We'd go out to dinner. We'd make out, get drinks, and then she'd go back to her place. I'd go back to mine. Right. We didn't have sex until finally in 2006. She came home for one of the holidays. She goes, come up to New York. And she's doing really well. Started this computer business, sold it recently for like $400 million.
Ooh, nice.
And but we finally, this is the night we're gonna have sex. And I come to Manhattan. She's staying in Hell's Kitchen. We go out to this restaurant. I remember Mike Meyers, Austin Powers is there, like in the corner. I'm like, oh my God, it's fucking Mike Myers, and we're drinking, and it's great. Yeah. And then we go back to her place. I'm like, this is it. I'm finally gonna have sex with her. And we
Mhm.
start having sex, and she's on the pill, so there's no protection.
Boom.
It's great. And we've been fucking for like, half hour, 45 minutes. And I realize I've got whiskey dick. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
able to have an orgasm.
Yep.
And so I fake it.
Yeah, that's happened. That's happened, and people make jokes about it. Gary Shandling used to have a funny joke about that, right? Like he's like, for a male to fake orgasm, it requires a lot of eye contact. Like you really got to sell it. But
Oh!
yeah,
It's a lot of squiggling.
because then I don't know. Like believe me, I've been there. It's an embarrassing thing, but I think ultimately they're more embarrassed as well. So even if they
Yes.
have the thought of like, did he not finish? They're not gonna say anything.
And I remember when she finally realized it a few minutes later, and she's like, where does it go? And I was like, oh man, it's probably just, I shot it. I don't even know. It's over top of you. And then she realized it, and then she came out of the bathroom, and she was just so cold. And I was supposed to stay for 2 days in New York. And the next morning, she goes, "Hey, I'm just going to take you to the train station. I've got a lot of work."
Oh,
And then that was it. So after
God.
years of waiting,
Wow,
nothing came.
Nothing came.
Nothing came.
That's great.
Uh,
Well
Trying to
tied
give
up.
you a mulligan? Like, come on.
Nah, we never did it again either. But a crazy story. I moved to New York. She lives here now. She's married with a kid, and she randomly just calls me and says, "Hey, I'm having my 40th birthday party. Would you like to come?" And I'm like,
Oh.
"Sure. Where is it?" She goes, "It's at." I didn't even think about that. Goddamn right, I'd like to come.
Yeah,
I
finally.
get a second shot of this. But she's like, and this she says to me, she's like, "I'm having about 40 people over to our home in Soho," and so I'm like, "Oh wow, she's doing good if she can have 40 people there."
Yeah.
And I walk in, and easily a $10 million apartment.
Wow.
Easily. I mean, stairs in it. And it was cool.
Yeah.
We talked the whole night. Her husband was giving me the side eye, but
Yeah.
there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Maybe there is. Maybe there is. I felt it. I want money.
Yeah. Call me.
Call me. I can't even say her name, but she knows who she is.
Yeah.
She knows who she is.
She's not listening.
She's not. God no. She's worth $400 million. She's
Yeah.
not listening. She's the one that's excited about Lucinda Williams. She's listening to that one.
Yeah, right.
Promote away. What do you got to promote, Alec?
Oh well, I'm still working on Family Guy, loving that. We're getting ready to crank out season 21, I think. So
Congrats.
I know it's pretty exciting. Also, I'm doing my own podcast. Who isn't? It's called A Typical Disgusting Display, a podcast by writers for writers. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. 3, 2, 1. A Typical Disgusting Display, a podcast for writers by writers who hate writing. So we're having a fun time doing that.
Love it. Everybody listen to it. Alec, you'll hear him again. You'll be back, dude. You're gonna be back. We're gonna get you off Radiohead and give you a different band too.
Anything you want, I'll be here.